everyone, my name is Dr. Baptiste and I'll be delivering a presentation which I will talk about my experience and how that's going to help shape yours. I want to start off by firstly saying thank you so much to the Black Medic Plexus for inviting me to speak at their event. As this is a recorded presentation, you won't be able to ask me questions in real time. However, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have following on from the talk. So if you have any questions, then please email the event organizers and I will do my best to answer those questions for you. So before I start, I'm always open or willing to connect with you guys, see if I can help you in any way. I have a YouTube channel for those of you who aren't subscribed or haven't watched any of my videos, then check it out. I've got so much information on there which will help support you on your medical career journey. I've recently launched a membership club in which I again support you guys even further in the shape of live streams, 30 to 60-minute live streams, and just more one-to-one advice from myself. So consider joining if you aren't a member already. I'm also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, and I have a website in which I do detail a bit more about myself and my experience. Connect with me. I'm always happy to help you guys where I can. So in terms of my experience, I'm not going to start from when I was a child because I generally do, but I'm going to start from the medical school where I graduated, and that was UCL. I graduated in 2013. Had a great time at UCL. Of course, it was hard. I'm sure many of you understand the challenges of studying a degree like medicine. So I always wanted to be a doctor, and getting into UCL was just amazing. It was obviously a dream come true. And it was my ultimate dream come true when I became a doctor in 2013, and I started working as a foundation doctor. However, it was quite busy. There was a lot going on when I started at the respective hospitals. And towards the end of my F2 year, I was happy to take a F3 year out. And it was during this time that I really just kind of delved into why I chose medicine. Was this the right career for me? I felt very lost. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, if I was going to leave medicine altogether. If I stayed in medicine, what was I going to do? What specialty was I going to choose? And so after a lot of thinking, a lot of soul searching, a lot of networking and speaking to other people who actually could relate to what I was saying and who were having their own kind of dilemmas, I realized that actually I still wanted to be a doctor. It was a bit more complicated than just kind of leaving medicine. I worked really hard to get to that point and I didn't want to just leave. And so I thought, well, if I still want to be a doctor and there's still so much good I have to do in the world through medicine, how can I do that? And so I decided to pick general practice, which would enable me to be the doctor that I felt I could be. So I applied to the GP training program, completed that within 3 years, which is the standard training program, and started working as a GP in 2019. Then, as you all know, the pandemic hit and that changed my thought process really. And so now I work as a remote GP. I've spoken about my reasons for working completely remotely in a video on my YouTube channel, which talks about, again, some of the reasons as to why I resigned from my job as a salaried GP. So if you're interested, then please check that video out on my channel. So in terms of my experience and what I've learned along the way, I'm just going to spend some time speaking about that. I'm going to start by talking about some of the things that I didn't do or some of the things that I didn't do enough of, but that you definitely should. Before I do go into those, that advice and those tips, I have 2 videos on my channel which do talk about the 10 things that you must do as a medical student and also the things that you can do to maximize and make the most of your time at medical school. So let's get into the advice. So the first thing I will say is to be open-minded and stay open-minded. When I applied to medical school, I was not thinking about general practice as a potential career option. When I got into medical school, as we're all told, I don't know if you guys still are, but I was certainly told that 50% of the year would become GPs. And in your head, you're thinking, well, that's not going to be me. Because there are a lot of negative connotations, a lot of negative things said about general practice. And so you think, well, I'm not going to do that. But there are so many positive reasons as to why you should choose general practice. And I always speak to people about becoming a GP, because I think it's such a worthwhile and a smart move. But of course, it depends on you, your aspirations, your personality, and what happens, in your life and your circumstances. So there are a few factors as to why, of course, you should choose any specialty or any career. But I would always advise choosing general practice. So that's what I would say. Be open-minded. Don't narrow and close off your options, and think really smartly about why you're going to pick something. Um, so yes, so keep an open mind. I do believe that at your stage, it's too early to choose a specialty. I think it does take some time. I think, the way the system is designed, you do have to, you're kind of forced to choose a specialty quite early. But of course, you can take some time out. Some people take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, more. It really depends on you and your circumstances and what you want to do. But I do believe that it's too early as a medical student anyway to choose a specialty. If you have chosen a specialty, that's fine. That's also fine. But in my opinion, I do think it's a bit too early to decide on what you want to do for like the rest of your life, the rest of your career. And think about all aspects to a career. Don't just think about the clinical aspects. As a medical student, you don't have that responsibility of working as a doctor. It may seem very fun, exciting, but just think about the practicalities of a career, the practicalities of each specialty. Could you see yourself doing that day in, day out, or part of the week for the rest of your life? Potentially, because of course you can change your careers at any point, and there's no problem with that. But just think about the whole picture. Try not to just focus on the clinical side or focus on one particular side of that career. Step out of your comfort zone is the next thing I will say. It's really important that you try new things, whatever that may be. I feel as a medical student, I spent a lot of time just studying. I mean, my priority was, of course, to be a doctor and to kind of get through medical school in a way. But I don't think I tried enough new things, probably because of time constraints and some of the ways that I learned and revised the content. So I would say step out of your comfort zone, try new things, and always think about new ways of learning. Are you more of a visual learner? Is there something else that you can do to improve your scores and to improve the efficiency of your learning? Always look for opportunities. If that means speaking to someone or sending an email, the worst that you can be told is no. What's the worst that can happen? I'm always looking for opportunities. When I started writing, when I took my year out of training, I sent loads of emails out. I sent loads of articles out. And sometimes I wouldn't get a response, but sometimes I would get a response. And then my articles were published. So when I was locuming, I was on a ward and I saw an interesting case that I thought would be really beneficial to the medical community as well. And I spoke to the consultant and said, look, I found this case. Would you be interested in working with me and really just supervising me? And then I got that case report published. So I would always say, look for opportunities, and also look for opportunities where they may not be so immediately visible to you. That may be just working in your day-to-day job, outside of medical school. For instance, if you have a job outside of medical school, or if you're on a placement and you're on a ward and you're with the medical team, is there any opportunities that you may not see straight away but could be there under the surface? So keep an eye out for things that may not be there straight away and visible straight away. Build your foundation. Again, I would really use the time at medical school. You've got 6 years, 5 years, if you're not doing a BSc, to really build on yourself, develop yourself. I think you've got so much time. And when I look back, I don't think I personally used my time as much as I should have in the best way possible. I feel like I could have developed more skills. One way would be to take leadership roles on societies. I'm sure many of you are doing all of this, and that's really good. I'm talking again from my own perspective, and when I look back as a medical student, I don't think it's enough to just be part of a society. I think obviously join societies for fun, but I also think you should join societies or join specific societies to be on the committee and to take on a leadership role. You don't have to be the president. You can do other things in a society, but it's really important so that you understand how these things work, how societies work, how organizations work. So that's one thing I will say as an example. Just make sure you upskill where possible during your summer, during term time. Build on your clinical skills, of course. Always make sure that you put yourself forward to do things that is going to build your confidence ultimately, but also non-clinical skills. And that could be by doing a number of different things inside and outside of medical school. So I'm just going to go back because I don't want to miss something. So yes, so I would urge you to, if you want to do, well, number one, do a BSc. I didn't personally want to do a BSc, but UCL, it was compulsory when I studied at UCL. And I was just like, oh God, another year adding onto this medical degree, which is long enough. But that actually taught me a lot about myself. And I feel that actually I rushed a lot of things. I rushed to finish medical school. I rushed to finish my foundation training. I rushed to finish my GP training. And actually, you should try and enjoy the process, enjoy the good and the bad. So I would, number one, urge you to do a BSc. Don't look at it as another year. I mean, if it's not compulsory, of course, if it's compulsory, then yes, you have to do it. But if it's not compulsory, I would urge you to do a BSc. The second thing I would say about a BSc is, of course, if you want to enhance your clinical knowledge, then of course that's fine. But I think you have more than enough time to enhance your clinical skills and knowledge in your medical degree and when you start working as a doctor, but you may not have that time and space to do something non-clinical, which will enhance you as a medic and as a doctor, as well as in other areas of your personal and professional life. So I would say, if you're going to choose a BSc, if you want to do a clinical BSc, that's fine. If you want to do pharmacology, physiology, that's perfectly fine. But my recommendations and my advice from my own experience and my own journey would be to do something non-clinical, like leadership, but it's leadership in healthcare, so it still relates, of course, but it does teach you other things, management. Just try and think outside the box, because that is only going to add and enhance to you as a person, and of course your CV and your portfolio. Develop your network. I can't stress this enough, that the people who surround you, the people who you surround yourself with, will enhance your career and help you in your career success, help you to be successful. It's all about, in a way, who you know. When you have to apply to medical school, you need to get work experience. How are you going to get that work experience if you don't actually know anyone? And so that was one of my struggles. Uh, when you're in medical school, how are you going to get some opportunities if you don't speak to people, you don't know what's going on? Someone may be able to help you get your foot in the door, so to speak. And it's not always about how people can help you, but it's also about how you can help other people and how you can just hear people's stories and just enjoy getting to know people. And when I network, when I speak to people, I really enjoy hearing their story. I always felt as a medical student, when I speak to the graduates, that they had such an interesting life and all this experience. And I had just gone straight from school into medical school and I hadn't really lived, so to speak. And so I really enjoyed kind of living vicariously through them, hearing their stories, taking what I could to again shape my own path, my own personal and professional career. So I would always say network, and network wherever. I had a teaching session as a GP trainee, and one of the GPs that came to speak to us was about their business and how it could help us. And I spoke to him afterwards and gave me his business card. And I wouldn't say that anything came out of it in a way, but that's just one example of where I use a teaching session to speak to someone and to hear about their journey and to build a connection. So I'm going to now end the talk with a few quotes, which I think are really important to you on your journey. When I was applying to medical, when I got into UCL, they sent us a little pack, a book, and in that little book or guide, it had this quote in it about, it's a marathon, and not a sprint. I mean, I don't think I listened because, as I said, I feel like I wanted things to kind of go along quicker than I felt they were going. But what I would say about medical school, and not just medical school, but maybe life in general, try not to rush. It's not a race, okay? It's more of a marathon. Take your time, take what you can from the journey, and just try to enjoy the process. And like I said, whether that's something that you feel is maybe not beneficial to you, or that you feel maybe is a waste of your time, try not to look at it that way. Try to see what you can take from it. Stay in your lane. I'm going to interpret this quote to mean focus on yourself. It can be so easy to see what everyone else is doing. I mean, just for instance, if you take social media, LinkedIn is a very good example. When I log into LinkedIn, I see people with loads of amazing achievements every day posting about, I've got a first class in this, I've got this new job, and that's really good. But I can see how this may affect people in a negative way if it's not used in the right way. If you see people on social media appearing to have a really good life, appearing to have all these, accolades, all these achievements, then it may negatively affect you. You may feel that you're not achieving, what you set out to do, or you're not achieving whatever you set out to do quick enough. And so I would always say, focus on yourself, stay in your lane, for example, in a way, and just compete with yourself. Like in medical school, when I was in medical school, everyone's in the top decile in whatever it is, and they're doing so well, and then it can be easy to get lose focus on yourself and your own journey. If you're getting 70% and someone comes to you and says, I've got 90%, oh, that's really good for you, and be happy for them, but focus on yourself. 70% is amazing. I think in medical school we lose sight of the fact that actually we're doing really well. So just focus on yourself and don't be disheartened. Be kind to yourself and know that you are doing really well in where you are at this point, and you've got so much potential and so much that's going to be in your future that's going to be good, and you will win. Again, it's all about trying to be positive, which is something that I've always struggled to do myself, and even to this day I have to actively work on staying positive, and know that whatever race you're in, whatever journey you're on, you will win. You will achieve what it is that you set out to achieve. So just know that, and yes, just stay positive. You will get there. So, like I said, of course, you won't be able to ask me questions now, but please email questions along to the Black Medic Plexus, the team, and I will do my best to answer those questions for you. I hope you gain some useful advice and tips from my own experience and my own journey. And yes, keep going. You're doing amazing. So, like I said, check out my YouTube channel. I have so much information on there if you're interested in learning a bit more about general practice. If you're interested in knowing about how you can maximize your time as a medical student, and those videos are available to you. So get in contact with me and I'm happy to answer any questions. Take care.